Hey everyone, I'm T Frank and I've been using the LG Stylo 4 for a few months now and as my daily driver for the past 4 weeks. In this video, I'm going to talk about my personal experience with this phone and let you know if I would recommend it. Spoiler, yes I do. I'll also leave links in the description for the most up-to-date pricing and specs. The price for this phone will vary depending on the carrier. I actually picked this up during Metro's port-in special, so I was able to get this phone for free and all I had to do was pay the first month's service and activation fee. The current port-in price with Metro is $79, which is still pretty reasonable, and the unlocked version with 3 GB of RAM usually runs for about $299, but I've seen it drop to about $250. The design is what you would expect for a budget phone, but I will say that I've had a lot of people ask me what this phone was and they were shocked to find out that it was a budget phone. The phone has metal around the sides and has some pretty tactile buttons and feels good in the hand. It has a large 6.2-inch Full HD plus full vision display, and it also comes equipped with a 5-megapixel front-facing camera that has a wide-angle option, a headphone jack, and also has a USB Type-C port. On the back of the phone is where you start to realize that this is a budget phone. The back is made of a cheap plastic that can very easily be scratched, so I'd highly recommend keeping this in a case. You have your 13-megapixel PDAF rear camera with Q lens that has an f2.4, and you have a fingerprint reader that no longer doubles as a power button. Personally, I like the look of this phone. I just wish that LG had gone with a different back for it. I really don't like to focus on specs, but I do want to point out some specs that I think would make this phone appealing to a consumer. I'll also leave a link in the description for the specs that I don't cover. So with its 6.2-inch display, this phone features an 18:9 aspect ratio. It has 2 GB of RAM, 32 GB of internal storage with memory expansion up to 512 GB, a 3300 milliamp hour battery. It has NFC, dual band Wi-Fi, and its most important feature, of course, it has a stylus. The stylus has some very minor changes from the previous version, but I've still found it to be useful. Similar to the Note line, you can just pull out the stylus and jot down your notes. Also, you have screen capture, so you can take a screenshot and make notes on it. You also have the ability to make GIFs and use the pop lens to magnify things. The stylus definitely can't compete with the Note line, and I wish it had better ergonomics, but for the price of this phone, I think it's a great addition. One of the things that impressed me the most with this phone is battery life. It features a sealed-in 3300 milliamp hour battery, and on the spec sheet, this really didn't wow me, yet I've had excellent battery life. This, of course, will vary depending on the user, but I've been averaging about 6 hours of screen on time, and I'm on this phone 24/7. This phone also has quick charge, and in my non-scientific test, it took about 1 hour and 35 minutes to charge from 0 to 100%, and I was able to get to 50% in under an hour. Overall, I'm very pleased with the battery life and the time that it takes to charge this phone. I just wish that LG would have stuck with the removable battery to increase the life of this device. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the camera for a little bit. So the rear camera is pretty decent on this phone. In good lighting conditions, you can get some good pictures. However, it will struggle in low light. The autofocus is not as bad as I thought that it would be, and it's actually pretty quick. For me, the true disappointment lies with the front-facing camera. I've played with the regular pictures and I've tried portrait mode, and I really just don't like how it tries to beautify the image. It makes the skin look unnatural, and I'm hoping that LG will work on this in future iterations. If you have this phone, I would love to know your thoughts on the LG Stylo 4's camera. Now that we've talked about the camera, let's go ahead and talk about the speaker on this phone. I don't think that it's horrible. I just think that it could be louder at times. I always feel disappointed when I'm watching YouTube videos and I try to crank up the volume only to realize that it's at the max volume. I actually prefer the placement at the bottom over the placement being on the back of the phone, but the all-time best placement would be on the front of the phone. I also want to mention that this phone does have 3D surround sound, so you can mess with the equalizer and a few other things to try to get the desired sound with headphones. The call quality is actually pretty decent on this phone, and what's more intriguing to me is that I usually have reception issues in my apartment with almost every phone that I use, but I haven't had this issue with this phone. 4G LTE has been pretty strong, and this phone does a great job with penetrating through buildings. I can happily say that my rude family is no longer complaining about my crappy service. I've also made a few phone calls using the speaker, and despite the sound coming from the bottom of the speaker, it sounds pretty decent, and I haven't had any complaints about anyone not being able to hear me. The performance with this phone has been great. Android 8.1 allows it to run pretty smoothly. I love picture-in-picture on this phone and multitasking. The 2 gigabytes of RAM only gives me problems when I'm using GPS, the Tidal app, and I'm also texting or making phone calls. I did this on a few occasions and the phone became super laggy and I had it freeze on me as well. The Bluetooth issues that I had in the car with my LG Stylo 3 Plus are still present on the LG Stylo 4, where it actually just goes in and out, especially if I'm trying to use the phone while it's connected. For example, I use the Tidal app on my way to work, and if I use the phone to text or even just unlocking the phone, it causes my audio to go in and out. I really enjoyed using the LG Stylo 4 as my daily driver. I think that this is a great phone for the price. I love the large display, the stylus, and I really love the battery life on this phone. I was concerned about the size of this phone, but it really isn't an issue, and I enjoy being able to watch YouTube videos on it while I'm out and about, though I would prefer a louder speaker. If you're in the market for a new phone and this is around your budget, this is one that I would definitely recommend that you pick up. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. I'm T Frank, and I'll catch you guys in another video. Peace.